Green Lantern might not have been the superhero smash hit everyone envisioned, but the CGI-saturated flop had a profound impact on Ryan Reynolds' life, both personally and professionally. For years, Ryan Reynolds was attached to play Wally West in a live-action Flash film, but that project failed to hit the ground running. Incidentally, when the actor was first offered Green Lantern, he wasn't exactly head over heels for it. Speaking to MTV in 2009, he said, "When I went to the meeting, I was entirely cynical. I thought, what the hell? I'll see what they have to say," and I left the room with a completely different perspective. Reynolds was impressed with director Martin Campbell's vision for the character and enticed by the massive scale of the Green Lantern mythos. He was even on board with the CGI suit idea in the beginning, which ended up becoming one of the most mocked aspects of the film due to its jarring appearance.
Hey! I'm really in the suit.
When Green Lantern failed, it took a while for Reynolds to recover, with the project hanging over him in Hollywood. Speaking to Variety in 2016, he said, "I represented the death of the superhero for a while. After Green Lantern, I was pretty much unhireable." Of course, not everything associated with Green Lantern is negative. In fact, perhaps the most important life change that resulted from Reynolds being in the film was a positive one. Though Green Lantern was panned, Reynolds met his future wife Blake Lively on the set in 2010. Reynolds had previously been married to Marvel star Scarlett Johansson, with the couple officially divorcing in 2011. He got to know Lively as they worked together on Green Lantern, and the pair have even more chemistry off-screen than they did while on camera. Love was in the air in 2012 when Reynolds and Lively were married in a private ceremony in South Carolina, proving that their romantic entanglements lasted well after the Green Lantern end credits. The pair can often be seen poking fun at each other on social media, and they have had 4 children together since tying the knot. This Hollywood power couple even has a rule that they don't ever work simultaneously, a boundary that helps them maintain their marriage and remain available for their children. Speaking on the podcast Further Ado, Lively said, "When Ryan and I got together, we made a rule not to work at the same time, so that we could always prioritize our personal life. That takes working really hard when we're not. Just like financial planning and sustaining that, it takes balance."
The other day we were changing diapers and he said, "You gotta get rid of it." And I said, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "No, not the diaper, the child."
For Reynolds, perhaps the best thing about working on Green Lantern were the precious moments the actor shared with fans. In an interview with Slash Film, Reynolds recounted how he inspired a young fan at San Diego Comic-Con after reciting the Green Lantern core oath on stage. He said, "I just wanted to shake him down to see if it was a plant, but no, he was the real deal. I got to see his face. I mean, like, not to overly romanticize it, but you have that moment when that happens where I sort of recognize the gravity of this. It's one thing to play an irreverent role like Deadpool, which garners plenty of laughs. Green Lantern, on the other hand, is based entirely on the premise of overcoming fear. So it's not surprising that Reynolds' commitment to the Hal Jordan character would trigger this sort of reaction." He added, "It's moments like that at Comic-Con with that kid that just, boy, I wouldn't trade that for the world." Even with a film that failed to meet our modern expectations for superhero pictures, Reynolds' time as a Green Lantern still managed to inspire some, and for the actor, that's part of what made it worthwhile. Green Lantern set out to be an inspirational superhero blockbuster set within a fantastical world, but making that world a reality wasn't a walk in the park. Even putting aside all the strangeness surrounding the purely CGI uniforms or the fact that Michael Clark Duncan wasn't cast as Kilowog until post-production, some elements surrounding Green Lantern didn't sit right with its lead star. For Reynolds, it was frustrating that so much of Martin Campbell's superhero picture was focused on special effects rather than character-driven storytelling. Reynolds told Empire the following in 2016, "You really need a visionary behind a movie like that." But it was a classic studio story. In Reynolds' mind, Warner Brothers was too focused on making something that would rival the still growing Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's what ultimately killed the picture. As the actor noted again in a separate interview, that's a very old-fashioned way to approach filmmaking that doesn't quite work the same way anymore. On the bright side, his frustrations with the way Green Lantern was handled were mistakes he would later correct with Deadpool, which still manages to be a fairly character-driven piece despite its place in the greater X-Men and now MCU franchise.
Look, if Green Lantern was a massive hit, there's no way I would have been able to make Deadpool.
Reinforcing the idea that Warner Brothers wanted Reynolds to help launch the DC answer to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Green Lantern was meant to be the start of a wider franchise that would have continued with both a sequel and a film about the Flash. Writers Michael Green, Greg Berlanti, and Mark Guggenheim were all slated to return for the Green Lantern sequel. This likely would have centered on Mark Strong's Sinestro as he embraced fear and turned against the Green Lantern Corps. Reynolds has actually expressed hopes that he would make his way into a Justice League movie somewhere down the line, but all the willpower in the world couldn't have made that movie happen. Speaking to Slash Film in 2011, he said, "Personally, and I have talked to no one about this, but I would love to see Jeff Johns' DC Universe online. That kind of idea with this kind of post-apocalyptic Justice League. I just thought that was really amazing. Just the visuals of that. I would love to see something like that. It's too bad because it would have been fun to see Reynolds' Hal Jordan interact with the Flash in something other than a commercial." Most DC fans were massively disappointed when Green Lantern was released. The film felt unevenly paced, relied too much on computer-generated spectacle, and never seemed to quite live up to the mythos. Comic book fans might sometimes be a bit overly critical, but even general audiences failed to connect with Hal Jordan's journey toward overcoming fear. Unfortunately, that sentiment was felt by the film's star as well. Speaking to Variety years later, Reynolds admitted how he felt when he watched the film with viewers for the first time. He said, "You know, sitting in that premiere, watching that, oh my god, it's tough." He described how it was a strange feeling and something he didn't want to repeat again, adding, "So I really spent the following years just owning as much as I could. It was the only way to kind of process it." Following the flop, Reynolds didn't turn his back on comic book adaptations or science fiction spectacles, but instead continued to embrace them. Movies like R.I.P.D., Free Guy, The Adam Project, and the Deadpool films all reinforce the idea that Reynolds himself was never the problem with Green Lantern. Done differently and with a better plan in place, the film likely would have been a success.
Well, he's got boyish charm for days.
In a humorous effort to own his mistakes, Reynolds has taken a lot of shots at Green Lantern since its release, but he has no regrets. Speaking to GQ in 2015, he said, "If I had to do it all again, I'd do the exact same thing." You know, also Green Lantern. You gotta remember, at the time, everyone was gunning for that role. The guys I was screen testing against are amazing talents. Still, even though he doesn't regret making the film, Reynolds has made it his mission to riff on that superhero flick whenever given the chance, even in his other movies. In the first Deadpool, Reynolds' titular character makes an offhand comment about green and computer-animated uniforms, a clear nod to the CGI suit from Green Lantern.
Don't make the super suit green or animated.
Deadpool 2 took this a step further, with Deadpool using time travel to shoot Ryan Reynolds after he reads the Green Lantern script for the first time. The actor has poked fun at the superhero film in other ways too, including during the promotional campaign for Free Guy. In one interview, he and Green Lantern co-star Taika Waititi pretended to have never even heard of it.
I don't think so.
Not from my memory. No. This is the first time we've met.
And let's not forget that virtual commencement speech for his old high school, where he joked that working on the DC film was his life's major success. After spending a decade mocking Green Lantern, Reynolds revisited the film for the first time in 2021, and the results weren't quite what you'd think. While awaiting the drop of Zack Snyder's Justice League, Reynolds took to X to sit down and officially watch the film. In his rewatch thread, the actor praised Angela Bassett's performance, criticized the way other actors were utilized, and noted that he still has his Green Lantern ring. By the end credits, he came to a conclusion fans might not have expected. He posted, "Maybe it's the aviation gin talking, but Green Lantern was nothing to fear. Hundreds of incredible crew and cast members did amazing work, and while it's not perfect, it ain't a tragedy. Next time I won't wait a decade to watch." Only a year prior, the actor had warned folks away from even renting the film for less than $1, and given its horrible Rotten Tomatoes scores, we've never questioned why. Still, there might be more glowing green gems in Green Lantern than immediately meets the eye, at least if Reynolds is to be believed.
In a world divided by fear, one man must stand alone.
For a while, there was talk that Reynolds might make a cameo appearance in Zack Snyder's director's cut of Justice League as Hal Jordan. These rumors ran amok online in 2020 until the actor himself shot the idea down. He posted on X, "It's not me, but what a cool pirate flag to cameo as Hal. Maybe it's another GL, but for me, the suit stays in the closet. Computer." But there was some deeper truth to this rumor after all. Snyder himself admitted to wanting Reynolds for the role of Hal in his DC Extended Universe, though he would have been accompanied by another Green Lantern. Speaking to The Hollywood Reporter, Snyder said, "There was another idea I had for the Green Lantern that wasn't Ryan, and so I thought that if we had gone down this path of Green Lantern, I would have had to have Ryan as the additional Lantern. Filling out the Lantern Corps is a little bit more than, say, just one Green Lantern." The other Green Lantern would have been John Stewart, played by Wayne T. Carr. Snyder originally wanted Stewart to visit Bruce Wayne at the end of Justice League, but because Warner Brothers apparently had other irons in the fire in terms of Green Lantern projects, it ended up being Martian Manhunter instead. The most life-changing thing that Green Lantern did for Reynolds was to open the door for him to leave DC for good in favor of Marvel. Though Reynolds had previously been attached to Deadpool before in X-Men Origins Wolverine, it wasn't until long after his first attempt to bring the character to life that the Merc with a Mouth was given a second chance on the big screen. Green Lantern definitely slowed the process though, according to Reynolds. Chatting to Variety in 2017, he said the following: "Part of the reason Deadpool wasn't greenlit right away was certainly because of me. If Robert Downey Jr. was playing it, I don't know how much greener a light you can get to make a movie." On Deadpool, Reynolds wore as many hats as necessary to make sure that the character remained true to his Marvel Comics origins and was appealing to fans of the source material. When Deadpool became a huge success, it was vindication for the actor. He said, "It's really proof that literally anything can happen in Hollywood." Had it not been for the failure of Green Lantern, Reynolds may never have gotten the chance to play the character he was born to play in such an authentic way. So we should be grateful that things panned out the way they did.